How do you look a child in the eyes, someone you love, and tell them a lie? A necessary, maybe even a life-saving lie, knowing that everything depends on them keeping that secret.
It's an absolutely gut-wrenching question, isn't it? And it's right there, the very heart of Lois Lowry's incredible book, Number the Stars. The whole story pivots on that kind of impossible moral choice.
Yeah, it explores bravery, yes, but also the calculated deception, the solidarity needed when ordinary people face extraordinary threats.
Exactly. And the setting makes it so immediate. We're in 1943, Copenhagen, World War II. The Nazi occupation is a reality, and Denmark's Jewish citizens are in terrible danger.
Lowry really wanted to shine a light on the courage of the Danish people, how they collectively resisted.
Right. And today, we're going beyond just recounting the plot. We want to offer you a bolder take on analyzing this book.
We're calling this an extended analysis. It's more than a summary, though. We'll cover the key points, too.
We'll be looking at how Lowry crafts her argument, how she builds influence with you, the reader, and how she earns your trust. Or perhaps where she might lose it.
The idea is to give you tools to read with, well, sharper insight, maybe greater discernment, wondering if you should read Number the Stars. This should definitely help you decide.
And it's great food for thought for aspiring writers, too. If you find this deeper format useful, please let us know. Your feedback really does help shape what we do next.
Okay, and one more thing before we dive in. You are experiencing a unique two-host AI conversation powered by Google's NotebookLM. We're using it to try and get a deeper, more dynamic analysis of the book.
Our goal here is really to understand the rhetoric beneath the story. How does it persuade us?
So, thinking analytically, who's the main audience? It's often seen as a book for young readers, right?
Primarily, yes. But what's so brilliant about it is how Lowry sets it up. The themes, empathy, courage, these really tough ethical choices, they resonate powerfully no matter your age.
And the narrative structure is absolutely key to that. We see everything through 10-year-old Annemarie Johansen's eyes.
Which immediately ramps up the tension, doesn't it?
Right.
Because she, and therefore we as readers, only get glimpses of the full danger. We piece it together alongside her.
It's a chronological story, very character-focused. It tracks Annemarie's journey from, well, innocence to a kind of forced, painful understanding of wartime realities.
And that specific viewpoint, Annemarie's perspective, that's Lowry's first move in establishing her ethos, her credibility as a storyteller here.
How so?
Well, she grounds the story in real historical events. She references actual Danish resistance efforts. That link to verified history gives the fictional parts immediate weight and authority.
Okay, let's talk about that ethos, because it's not pure documented fact all the way through, is it? There's the element of myth versus fact we need to touch on.
Ah, yes, King Christian X.
Exactly. Lowry includes some of the folklore surrounding his resistance, like the story, probably not true, but widely believed of him wearing the Star of David.
That's such a critical point. If this were purely a history lesson, maybe that detail weakens the factual accuracy. But rhetorically, it's incredibly effective.
How do you mean?
Because while the specific event might be myth, the spirit behind it, that national commitment, that communal resolve, defining the Danish resistance that was absolutely real, Lowry taps into that shared national feeling, that mythologized spirit, to make the individual acts of bravery feel authentic. She's using the nation's ethos to strengthen the novel's ethos.
So the belief, the feeling of unity, was almost more important than the strict historical record for the people living through it. Okay, if that builds her authority, let's shift to the emotional impact, the pathos. How does she pull us into the fear, the hope, the loss?
Oh, she's a master of using small, concrete details that just stick with you. Think about Ellen's Star of David necklace. It's more than just a symbol. In the story, it becomes this dangerous object, a literal weight. When Ellen has to hide it, that single piece of jewelry connects her personal fear directly to the entire community's fight for survival. It's incredibly potent.
And the emotional stakes feel so high because of personal loss, too. It's not abstract danger. Learning about Annemarie's older sister, Lise.
Yes, who died earlier, and we later learn was part of the resistance.
Right. That backstory anchors the Johansen family's personal grief within the larger conflict. It makes the cost of the occupation feel incredibly real and irreversible for the reader.
Lowry also uses figurative language really powerfully. Remember when Annemarie feels overwhelmed and Lowry writes, "The whole world was crying."
I do. It's such a simple sentence, but huge.
Exactly. It's personification, and it takes Annemarie's private fear and loneliness and makes it feel vast, universal. It gives the chaos an inescapable emotional weight.
Okay, so we've got the emotional pull. What about the logos, the logic, the reasoning within the story? It's not just feelings, there's a harsh logic at play.
Absolutely. The narrative doesn't shy away from showing the cold, hard calculations needed to resist tyranny. The core argument, logically, is that sometimes saving lives requires deception. It forces truth into second place.
That's the terrible bind they're in. The story makes you confront that reality. The moral choice might mean lying, breaking rules, doing things that feel wrong individually for a greater collective good.
We see it constantly. The coded language is a prime example. Calling the escape plan for Jewish neighbors a fishing trip. It's a necessary lie, a logical shield.
And the logic can be chilling. Think about the decision to send Annemarie, just a child, with that crucial package near the end.
It's terrifying.
But logically, a 10-year-old girl is less likely to arouse suspicion than an adult. It's a calculated risk, born of desperation, yes, but it's rational within their context. It shows how intelligence and moral purpose had to align for the resistance to work.
And that's the profound insight, isn't it? For these Danes, their very identity, their moral compass, became tied to their willingness to deceive, to lie, to protect others. That necessity becomes the central logical argument Lowry builds.
It's intense thinking about that constant pressure, the life or death calculations they had to make. It's worth pausing on that for a second.
Definitely. And if you find yourself reflecting on these kinds of intense ethical questions raised by literature, consider checking out Mindful Moments, our YouTube channel. We offer AI-driven book analyses, summaries, and critiques. There's all designed to inspire reflection and rational thought.
Okay, let's get back into Lowry's craft. Her writing style, the diction, the imagery. For a book often aimed at younger readers, it feels quite sophisticated, doesn't it? Accessible, sure, but really evocative.
She nails that balance. She captures both the everyday feeling and the underlying terror of living under occupation. Her word choices make immense danger feel almost mundane sometimes, which is psychologically true to how people adapt, right?
Like that simile she uses describing the soldiers on the corner as being as unimportant as lampposts.
Exactly. It diminishes their terrifying presence in Annemarie's mind. Maybe it's a coping mechanism for her, but as a literary technique, it's brilliant. It shows us how children process trauma.
And the symbolism is woven throughout, often with layers of meaning, the stars, for instance.
Obviously, the Star of David, representing Jewish identity, but also literal stars in the night sky, symbolizing guidance, maybe hope, something constant even in the darkest times.
And the sea, it's so central.
Oh, absolutely. It's the physical route to safety in Sweden, yes.
Yeah.
But metaphorically, it's huge. It represents the vast unknown, the risk, the cold uncertainty of escape. It's this boundary that offers freedom, but is also incredibly dangerous. It perfectly captures the gamble they're taking.
Structurally, she uses repetition and contrast really effectively too, especially around the idea of bravery.
Yes, the motif of bravery keeps coming back. What does it mean? There's physical courage, the courage to stay silent, the courage to lie effectively. She keeps showing different facets of it.
And the contrast is so sharp. Little moments of childhood innocence, playing, sharing food, set against this backdrop of darkness and Nazi cruelty. It really heightens the stakes and the moral choices.
And that whole World War II setting acts as this enormous constraint, doesn't it? Every action, every conversation, every errand is overshadowed by danger, by the need for secrecy, by this absolute reliance on solidarity.
I think what makes Lowry's argument feel so mature is that she avoids easy answers. She doesn't make it simple. There's this constant tension between Annemarie's desire for the truth, wanting to understand, and the adult's need to protect her and everyone else through silence and deception.
Yes, she navigates those moral gray areas so carefully. It's not preachy at all.
Which really brings us to the book's overall effectiveness. Does it achieve its purpose? I'd say remarkably so.
I agree. That blend of historical fact, the national myth we discussed, and Annemarie's very personal journey, it lets readers connect on both an emotional and an intellectual level.
And choosing to tell it through Annemarie's limited understanding, that feels like a key rhetorical choice for reaching the intended audience.
It is. It makes these incredibly complex moral questions like, when is lying okay, feel approachable, but still profound for younger readers. She's essentially teaching ethical reasoning without being didactic.
So, the core thesis that emerges, the persuasive argument, seems to be that the extraordinary courage shown by ordinary Danes came from this deep-seated sense of responsibility, a duty to protect those in danger, even at immense personal cost.
A cost that included systematic, organized deception.
Yes.
That Inherent responsibility is key.
Lowry really uses that immersive story, the powerful symbols, to convey the huge moral weight and the bravery required in such extreme circumstances. It definitely makes you think, what would I risk?
And maybe the final brilliant touch is showing that courage isn't about not being afraid. It's about acting, despite the fear. Even if that action is a lie, told for the right reasons. It's a vital look at history, focused on human integrity under pressure.
If you want to explore the plot details further, click the link on screen for the in-depth book summary. And please consider subscribing, sharing, or purchasing the book via the link. Always strive to think rationally.
And don't forget to check out the wide range of genre-based book discussions we have at Mindful Moments. Subscribe and nourish your mind on the go.